Some of it will just kind of blow your mind away, and sometimes it's just kind of like, what is going on? And sometimes you're just like, wow, I can't believe they're making this argument. They're lawyers, but hey, you do what you got to do, I guess. You got to do what you got to do and see what works. Anyways, hello. Welcome back. How are y'all doing today? We have the brief of appellee. So this is prepared by Mr. Rottenborn. So this is one of those things where you can just have me in the background. I'll read to y'all. You can do your thing, clean, multitask. I don't know. Take a bath, take a shower, whatever it is, it's your thing. Take a shit, whatever. Statement of the case. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, though, just to make the font a little bit bigger and better on my eyes, and because I don't feel like wearing glasses. Let's do this one. Okay. Statement of the case. During the course of their relationship, appellant John C. Depp II AB'd his wife, appellee Amber Laura Heard, physically, verbally, emotionally, psychologically. Mr. Depp promised her that if she ever left him, he would make her think of him every single day by ruining her career and life. Again, out of context, it sounds really crappy, but we need the context here. Come on now. After she attained a protective order against him and commenced divorce proceedings, Mr. Depp did everything in his power to keep that promise. In describing Ms. Heard around the time of the divorce, Mr. Depp stated, "She's begging for total global humiliation. She's gonna get it. And I will stop at nothing." I don't know. The way they did the ... and the way they did like 3 exclamation marks is comical. So again, the reason why he said this was because she did the public appearance with a bruise on her face, got the DVTRO. Months later, this is restraining order, by the way, okay? If you get a restraining order, it means you're not going to be near that person. But months later, she met up with him in a hotel room. It was just him. It was just her. And I think like they had a mutual friend that was like outside or something like that, okay? That totally shows how scared she was of him. Not only that, but when Johnny Depp was like, "Dude, what are you doing? Why are you lying? Why are you doing this?" And she's like there, she's like, this is when she does like the crazy laugh. I think she does like the crazy laugh, and she's like, "Oh, what are you gonna do? Read a book, or something like that." And then that's why he said that she's begging for total global humiliation, because at some point he's gonna call her out on all her BS. Mr. Depp has marshaled agents to advance his global campaign, including his lawyer, Adam Waldman. I mean, who else has Amber Heard hired in order to advance her global campaign? Mr. Depp retained Mr. Waldman, asking Amber for context. Why are they acting like the whole trial is about revenge? Hi, Black Pope. They're just trying to rewrite history, hoping that we just forget, I guess. What counts as a valid reason for requesting the documents? I started requesting more of them, but I'm not sure if hyperfixation or boredom will be accepted. The man was fighting to get his life back. Heard has hired everyone under the sun for her global campaign. This is hilarious. Hey, Toybox, how are you doing today? Yeah, I just think it's really funny how the shit that they're giving to Johnny Depp, it's like things that she's done, but 10 times worse. Mr. Depp retained Mr. Waldman, shortly announcing the world he would stop at nothing to globally humiliate Ms. Heard. Mr. Waldman assists Mr. Depp with publicity, holds himself out to the press as Mr. Depp's lawyer. I'm really glad that Johnny Depp hired Adam Waldman, because I felt like, there needed to be someone that was willing to, stoop a little to Amber's level and get at her level and kind of do some shit, because I felt like Mr. Depp was just kind of, doing things I felt like he was just trying to do things the right way, while she was kind of doing things the dirty way. And having Adam Waldman continuously call out Amber Heard on Twitter was hilarious. It was a shit show, but it was hilarious, and I was living for every single moment of those tweets. Mr. Waldman assists Mr. Depp with publicity, holds himself out to be the press and Mr. Depp's lawyer, and has been quoted in several articles as stating Ms. Heard as crying out as an AB hoax. Mr. Waldman also works to generate negative press about Ms. Heard. Specifically, Mr. Waldman filed a report with the Los Angeles Police Department. Yeah, apparently he went to the LAPD and was like, I want to there was about her perjuring and her friends perjuring. Oh man, I think that's hilarious. alleging Ms. Heard perjured herself and then created a story about his claim by telling the news outlet that LAPD had opened a criminal investigation into perjury by Ms. Heard. The defamatory statement at issue in this appeal comes the last occasion on which Mr. Depp PA'd Ms. Heard on May 21st, 2016. When describing this day to the Daily Mail, a tabloid published the UK and online, Mr. Waldman falsely stated, and we know what quote this is the ambush, the hoax, the spilled a little bit of wine quote, okay? Following Mr. Depp's suit arising out of Ms. Heard's op-ed, in which she described public backlash faced by women who allege the word, Ms. Heard filed a counterclaim for defamation seeking redress for the reputational harm caused by the statement. And it's so crazy how, like, she's not even suing Johnny Depp for the things that Johnny Depp did. She's suing Johnny Depp for what Adam Waldman said. Mr. Depp moved for summary judgment, arguing the statement was an opinion and Ms. Heard could not actually prove actual malice. The Circuit Court of Fairfax County correctly denied the motion, finding that the statement was actionable because it was capable of being proven false. The court also denied summary judgment because the record contained disputed facts regarding whether the statement was made with actual malice. The case proceeded to trial, where the circuit court properly excluded the contents of the full article that contained the statement because it constituted inadmissible hearsay and was not necessary for the jury to assess whether the statement was defamatory. At the show, there you go. I asked Amber, I already said Amber is the human embodiment of gum stuck under your shoe. Just can't get rid of her. Cut off Johnny's finger and shite in his bed. She is a real winner. Man knew how to meme, not gonna lie. Yeah. And his references to like music and some of the songs were pretty interesting too. I don't know why, but for some reason, this is my chat right now. I don't know why it's not refreshing. Should I refresh it? It just says nope. Should I refresh? Hello, YouTube chat. Refresh cache. Does that work? There you go. I don't know why it was stuck on that for a second there. All right, so we're going to talk about Mr. Waldman, independent contractor, employee, blah, 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 blah. Mr. Depp then tendered several jury instructions regarding his theory that Mr. Waldman was an independent contractor. The circuit court refused these instructions, holding the concept of independent contractor did not apply to this case, and no evidence supported the proposed instructions. Following deliberations, the jury returned a verdict in favor of Ms. Heard with respect to the statement. The circuit court entered judgment in accordance with the verdict and subsequently entered a final order. This appeal followed. The statement of facts. Can we rely on Ben Rottenborn to actually state the facts? Let's see what it says. Oh, it already starts off with a lie. Well, actually, the AB could be on Johnny Depp, not on Amber Heard. The AB on May 21st, 2016. Just a reminder, this was like the day after his mother passed away too. Like, I don't know, I really feel for this guy. This court views the evidence presented at trial in light most favorable to the prevailing party. So viewed the evidence at trial established in May 2016, the party's marriage was falling apart due to, we're just blaming everything on Johnny Depp here, due to Mr. Depp's alcoholism, drug use, and the AB of his wife. On May 21st, 2016, it definitely has nothing to do with like the cheating and stuff, right? Like absolutely nothing to cheating on Amber Heard's side and like, no, right? Like it's just totally just all Johnny Depp's fault. Right. Okay. On May 21st, 2016, the couple had not seen each other for 1 month, but Mr. Depp contacted Ms. Heard and asked if he could come home because his mother had passed away. He told Ms. Heard that he really needed his wife, and while she felt conflicted because the situation hadn't gotten better with Johnny mentally due to his drinking and drug use, she agreed that he could return home. Oh my God. She agreed that he can return home. What an interesting way to paint this picture. What an interesting way. It makes it seem like he was kicked out of the house because he was ABing her. And then he's like, I really need you. And she's like, oh man, I'm so conflicted because you're such a bad husband. But you know what? I guess you can return home. Dude, he was just coming by to his penthouse to collect his things so he can go on tour with his bandmates in the next couple of days. Do we have the text? The text messages are here. I feel like we need to read the text messages. Just like resurrected. Oh my God. It's somewhere around here. Yeah, I don't know. The way that they're painting this is very, 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 very interesting. Because I think, here's what happened. I think, is this the right scenario? Let me think. Because at this point, they haven't seen each other since Amber Heard's birthday. She went to Coachella. She got pissed at him for showing up at her birthday late. And it seems like I don't know, I think she just has some severe anger management. Severe anger issues. I've done some things Amber like in the past. Kind of crazy watching her to the side. It's very worrying. She hasn't gotten help by now. Trunk of a Honda Civic. Yeah, because Amber is perfect. Wow. When Mr. Depp arrived in the early evening, he was inebriated. He was peaceful at first, but later began talking about a prank he insisted was carried out by one of Ms. Heard's friends, Io. Mr. Depp claimed that Mr. Wright defecated in Ms. Heard's bed so that he would find feces there. Ms. Heard called Mr. Wright and placed him on the speakerphone in an attempt to resolve this matter. Here's the thing. I think Amber did it and then Io didn't know about it. So when she called Io, Io would have the perfect reaction to like a "what the fuck are you talking about" moment because it's bizarre. And then by doing that, it makes Johnny Depp feel even more crazier. During the call, Mr. Depp became angry, grabbed the phone, screamed at Mr. Wright, who was a member of the LGBTQIA community. He yelled at the top of his lungs, "You D word, B word," among other expletives and insults, and told Mr. Wright he could have Ms. Heard. Mr. Depp then tossed the phone on the couch and proceeded upstairs. Ms. Heard retrieved the phone and began apologizing to Mr. Wright. Oh, poor Ms. Heard. Mr. Wright, who was also still on speakerphone, knew of Mr. Depp's AB of Ms. Heard on previous occasions, responded, "Amber, get out of the house. Get out of the house now. You're not safe. Get out of the house." Mr. Depp heard this statement while he was on the staircase, bolted down the stairs. Mr. Depp grabbed the phone from Ms. Heard and began berating Mr. Wright again. After he finished screaming at Mr. Wright, Mr. Depp threw the phone at Ms. Heard, who was sitting on the couch. The phone hit Ms. Heard's face, what felt like her eye. Ms. Heard put her head in her hands and began crying, said, "You hit me with the phone." I don't know. Here's the thing. What didn't make sense to me was that if Johnny Depp grabbed the phone from you and started berating your friend, why would you not try to get the phone back? Instead, you just go to the couch and you're just like, okay, I'm just going to sit here quietly until it's over. I don't know. That's kind of weird. That didn't really make sense to me. And then Amber Heard also said that when Johnny threw the phone at her, he pitched it to her like a baseball and threw it at her head. Kind of reminds me of like the Jody thing. Remember how Jody said they were like, "Oh, Jody, how did Travis tackle you?" And she was like, "Oh, he like got down like this and charged at me like a what do you call it again? A wide receiver? What's the people that tackle in football?" He's the elder lord. In response, she could teleport. Stop. See, the funny thing is, if the team and Amber didn't lie about every little thing, it would have made their job easier. See, I try to take that perspective too. Like, what would happen if she wasn't extremely exaggerative with things? Would we believe her? And you know what? I still don't think we would believe her because there were certain accounts from like her friends, her family, like Whitney, mom and dad. Like, I don't know, it just didn't really paint the picture that she was just in this horrendously bad relationship where the AB was on one side, you know? I don't know. I just didn't really see it that way. She's making it seem like she's like a battered woman, you know, battered wife, and she's nothing but loving. And Johnny Depp is the angry guy who does drugs and drinks and comes home and just like beats on her, you know? Like that's just not really the story that seems to be painted, especially when you get I don't know, just like how like the mom acted, the dad acted, and some of the stuff that the sister have said, and like I don't know. There's too many bad evidence against Amber. In response, Mr. Depp said, "Oh yeah, I hit you, huh?" Then hit Ms. Heard on the top of her head and pulled her off the couch by her hair. Ms. Heard tried to cover her face to protect herself while Mr. Depp continued to pull her around the room by her hair and mocked her. Referring to her face, he said, "Let me see how bad I hurt you. Let me see it. Let me see how bad I hurt you this time. What if I pull your hair back?" At trial, Ms. Heard introduced numerous photos taken later that night and following the days showing the marks and bruises on her face caused by Mr. Depp throwing her phone at her. So, like I said, the reason why this was just not as really believable, like, I don't know, here's what I think could have happened. I think it's possible that he, like, chucked the phone. Like, I don't know, he said that, like, he chucked the phone behind his back like this. So, like, I think it's possible he could have chucked the phone and, like, it did hit her. I don't know if it did hit her or not. I think it's possible maybe that could have happened. And then when she was like, oh, my God, you hurt me, you hit me. And, like, to him, he was probably, like, so used to her lying and coming up with these, like, you know, like pity, like, oh my God, I'm so hurt. And he was probably just like rolling his eyes at this point. So I wouldn't be surprised if he actually went up to her, was just like, oh, did I really hurt you? Yeah, let me see it. Let me see what I did. Let me see if I hurt you. Like, I don't know. I felt like him taunting her like this, I could see this happening if he was already dealing with a woman that would make up fake lies about the extent of her injuries, right? Like, remember when he talked about how there was a part where she was trying to break into the bathroom or something, and like, I don't know. Oh no, sorry, this is a different injury thing where like they were fighting, something happened, and she claims that she was bleeding everywhere. And then he checked the napkin later and he realized that it was just like nail polish. Like, I don't know. Like, if you were dealing with someone as crazy as this, someone who pretended their injuries when they weren't real, at this point, like, I wouldn't be surprised if he was just kind of sick of her. So I wouldn't really be surprised if he was taunting her because he probably thought that she was lying as well. I don't know. Meanwhile, at some point during the altercation, Mr. Wright called 911. The physical altercation subsided when Ms. Heard's friend, Raquel, who lived in the adjacent apartment, entered the room. Ms. Pennington got in between Ms. Heard and Mr. Depp, put her in the hands of Mr. Depp's chest, and said, Johnny, no. So there's a very interesting theory, by the way, regarding these 911 calls and regarding how Raquel got there and whether or not she was hiding in the closet and stuff. I don't know. You guys should definitely explore that at some point. I think it's on Brian's channel. What was the channel name again? I know his name is Brian. Oh, Quarterback. Yeah, thank you. JD is a villain while Age is an angel. Not surprised he was doing drugs. Living with her is a nightmare. Hi from Tennessee. Oh, hello. How are you doing today? What's going on? We did. Yeah, Brandon Chat sent it over to me. So we did. We're reading this one right now. This one was followed by Ben Rottenborn, and we haven't heard from him in a while. Yes, Incredibly Average. Yeah, so I think Incredibly Average, he has a video talking about his theory about like what happened, and then like compared the 911 calls, and like there's a lot of things that didn't really add up. And after I watched that video, I was like, holy shit, it really does seem like a freaking setup. It's crazy. It's wild. Brian's channel is Incredibly Average. Yep. So definitely check out their channel as well. Raquel Pennington, who lived in an adjacent apartment, entered the room. Ms. Pennington got in between Ms. Heard, Mr. Depp, put her hands on Mr. Depp's chest and said, Johnny, no. Mr. Depp swatted Ms. Pennington's hand off his chest and barreled towards Ms. Heard, who had retreated to the couch. Ms. Pennington then covered Ms. Heard with her arms while Mr. Depp stood over them and screamed, Amber, get the F up, about 10 times. At that point, two of Mr. Depp's security guards entered the apartment and persuaded Mr. Depp to leave. As Mr. Depp was leaving, he picked up a Magnum wine bottle that he had brought with him and smashed various items of personal property with the bottle. The damaged property included framed photographs, a display of bead necklaces Miss Pennington has prepared for an art show, items in Miss Heard's office such as keepsakes boxes. Mr. Depp also spilled wine in the hallway outside their home. Miss Heard presented evidence of property damage at trial. Here's the thing too, right? Like this could have been believable had there not been police officers that showed up in the scene and was like, yeah, we saw her face. It looked a bit red, but it looked like it was red from crying. Or if the police officers weren't like, oh, you know, we didn't really see damaged property and we actually walked around. Like, I don't know. This is wild and crazy to me. After Mr. Depp left with his security guards, Miss Heard learned that Mr. Wright called 911 and law enforcement was on their way. Miss Heard panicked because she did not know what law enforcement was going to do when it saw the... Wait, what? Oh my God, wait, does it say that she cleaned it up or something? Wait, Ms. Heard panicked because she did not know what law enforcement was going to do when it saw the property damage to her home. She testified, I wanted to protect Johnny. She testified this? I didn't want him to be arrested. I didn't want him to be in trouble. I didn't want the world to know. I don't want this AB to come out. I mean... We also have the testimony, we have, was it a testimony? Oh no, Josh Drew was the one who I think talked to Adam Waldman, and then maybe in the deposition, it was mentioned that they all got together and talked to Amber's like lawyer, Samantha Spector, and she like told them what to do, you know, like, I don't know, man. I don't know. A lot of this just seems kind of like, there's a lot of weird stuff that happened. Oh, thank you, Erebus. I appreciate the 5. Hello from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. I have friends that live in Canada. I got to go to Vancouver sometime. Dude, thank you so much for the 5. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. My reaction to this, oh, yeah, that's totally the corgi, oh. She called her attorney, oh, okay, who assists her with entertainment law matters for advice, and he gave her, oh, I thought it was a she. No? Maybe it's not. The contact information of a domestic relations A-word, attorney, sorry, attorney, why did I say A-word? As a result of the conversation with a domestic relations attorney, Ms. Heard told the 2 law enforcement officers who responded that she refused to cooperate at this time based on the advice of her attorney. After speaking with Ms. Heard, the officers walked to the apartments that compromised the couple's home, gave Ms. Heard a business card in case she changed her mind about cooperating, and departed. Ooh, are we not going to talk about how the police officers didn't see anything? Like, are we not going to talk about that testimony? Oh, God, this is cherry picking at its finest. Oh, my goodness. Once the officers left, Ms. Heard and her friends cleaned up the apartment so the dogs did not step on any broken glass. They did not call a publicist or summon law enforcement. I feel like okay, so here's the thing. I think the police officers, didn't they show up like an hour after or 45 minutes after? This doesn't make any sense. I feel like you would put the dogs in a different room and not leave the broken glass out. Like, I don't know. There's so many weird inconsistencies. So the moment there's broken glass in my house, I immediately take the dogs, put them in a different room, and then you clean up the glass. You don't wait around for like 45 minutes to just have broken glass everywhere and have the dog step on anything. Unless you wanted police to show up and see the broken glass, right? They did not call publicists or summon law enforcement. I mean, that could be debated, right? About an hour after the first pair of officers departed, however, a second pair of officers responded to the couple's home. Ooh. Ms. Heard did not know additional officers has been called until they arrive. Who are they going to say who called? She declined to cooperate with the second pair of officers as well, and they departed after confirming Ms. Heard was safe and without searching the apartment. Oh, they're not going to talk about who called the second pair of officers? Interesting. Yep, 2 sets of police officers showed up that night. Ms. Heard filed a petition for dissolution of the party's marriage at the end of May 2016. She realized after the violence on May 21st that despite all her efforts to help Mr. Depp become clean and sober, because she's just trying to help him, nothing was going to work. Mr. Depp's behavior was now normal and not the exception. She feared that it was going to really end bad for her if she did not leave him. Yep, and we had the body cam footage too. Wild. Ms. Heard also obtained a protective order against Mr. Depp at the end of 2016 so that she can change the locks to their home. She explained that she had begged Mr. Depp's security guards who carried his keys to not let him into the house when he was intoxicated, but they always let Mr. Depp in anyway. As a result, she could not sleep and would often wake up with panic attacks. Ms. Heard's counsel notified Mr. Depp's counsel of her intent to seek a protective order, but Mr. Depp did not appear in court on the day she obtained the order. Wait. Are they trying to make it seem like it's his fault for not appearing in court? I thought it was called the ex parte TRO thing, where it's like it's an emergency TRO and like you can get it without telling the other person to show up. Like, I don't think Johnny Depp even knew about it. Ever since Ms. Heard obtained a protective order and filed for divorce, Mr. Depp has done everything in his power to destroy her reputation, career, and life. No, she did it to herself, but okay. Mr. Depp's intent on retaliation against Ms. Heard. Mr. Depp has deep anger and resentment towards Ms. Heard, which is relevant to this appeal because it demonstrated he was highly motivated to hire Mr. Waldman to defame her. Okay. During their relationship, Mr. Depp became angry with Ms. Heard. He expressed a desire to K-word her. For example, in June 2013, he sent a text to one of his friends stating, "Let's burn Amber." We got these text messages, and honestly, like, yeah, it sounds pretty fucking weird, but I don't know. It's like there needs to be more context surrounding it to make this text look as bad as they want it to look. In response, a friend proposed a drowning test, to which Mr. Depp responded, "Let's drown her before we burn her. I will F her burn corpse afterwards to make sure she is dead." Also, Johnny Depp speaks in like really flowery, like abstract language. The dude's like an artsy guy. After Ms. Heard obtained a protective order and filed for divorce, Mr. Depp announced his plans to retaliate against her. For instance, in June 2016, Depp sent a text message to his sister, who worked in the entertainment industry, stating, "I want her replaced on that WB film." He was referring to Ms. Heard's role in Aquaman, because I think he helped her get into Aquaman. Like, he did so much for her, and here's this woman making false allegations about him. In August of 2016, Mr. Depp described Ms. Heard in a text message to her former assistant that stated, "I'm disgusted that I ever effing touched that scum. Back on Tuesday and then court. We'll hit you when I get back, doll. Come over for a spot of purple and we'll fix her flabby ass nice and good." I think this is like I could have sworn this was a, oh, did he send to her assistant? Oh, man, I completely forgot. Her assistant testifying also fucked her as well. Oh, my God. Yo, the way that the assistant described how Amber treated her and how she was treated like trash was like, dude, I feel like it really fucked her. It really fucked her in the beginning. Please find no bruises. Amber apparently never did drugs. She, I think it was found out that she lied about that, like whether or not she did drugs in Coachella. Hey, Taylor, how are you doing today? What's it going? It's dumb, but I chuckle every time you say alligator instead of allegations. Shortly before he met Mr. Waldman, Mr. Depp expressed his hope that Ms. Heard would, D-word, and said that he would stop at nothing to globally humiliate her in a text message to his entertainment agent, which stated, I mean, this is after everything happened. Honestly, like, this is a man that's, like, venting, okay? He's, like, venting to his friend. She's begging for total global humiliation. She's gonna get it. I'm gonna need your text about San Francisco, brother. I'm sorry to even ask, but she sucked Mollis's crooked D word. And I didn't know what this meant until I realized it had to do, he was directing it at Elon Musk. He gave her some shitty lawyers. I have no mercy, no fear, not even an ounce of emotion for what I once thought was love for this gold digging, low life, dime a dozen, mushy, pointless, dangling, overused, again, very flowery language we got here, okay? The man's like a freaking artist or something. Overused flappy fish market. I'm so effing happy she wants to go to fight this out. She will hit the wall hard. I cannot wait to have this waste of a guzzler out of my life. I met a effing sublime little Russian here, which made me realize the time I blew on that 50-cent stripper, I wouldn't touch her with a goddamn glove. I can only hope that karma kicks in and takes the gift of breath from her. Sorry, man, but now I will stop at nothing. Let's see if Mollis has a pair. Come see me face to face. I'll show him things he's never seen before, like the other side of his dong when I slice it off. In light of this evidence, a fact finder could have concluded that Mr. Depp harbors deep animosity towards Ms. Heard and is desperate to destroy her reputation. I mean, I can understand why he feels this animosity towards her. Number 3, Mr. Depp and Mr. Waldman's relationship. Mr. Depp retained Mr. Waldman in October 2016, and he continues to represent him. He serves as Mr. Depp's primary counsel for all his affairs and has assisted Mr. Depp with filing several lawsuits, including actions against Mr. Depp's former business manager, his former attorney, newspaper, and Ms. Heard. Mr. Waldman also assists Mr. Depp with publicity. In February 2020, Mr. Depp and Mr. Waldman met a publicist who works for the Daily Mail. At the meeting or another occasion, Mr. Waldman gave the Daily Mail 2 recordings concerning this case. Mr. Waldman has also provided information about this case to several social media personalities who he calls internet journalists. I'm so glad they leaked the audio. He was present when a journalist for the Rolling Stone interviewed Mr. Depp, and according to the journalist, Mr. Waldman reached out to Rolling Stone about writing an article about Mr. Depp. Do you guys ever read the article, the Rolling Stone article? I don't know. It's weird. It's really weird. In the Rolling Stones article, I think in the digital one was fixed, but in the print one, they wrote a little segment saying that Johnny Depp admitted to hitting the Brooks guy on the movie set, which I thought was really weird. I was like, I don't know, man. I'm like a little bit skeptical with Rolling Stone. And they had to correct it and remove that. But to me, it wouldn't make sense. Like, why would Johnny Depp admit to hitting Rocky Brooks if he's always have denied it? I don't know. I wonder if it was, I don't know. I wonder if they were trying to go after him or something at that time. It was really weird. After Mr. Depp and Mr. Waldman's meeting, the Daily Mail published a series of articles that accurately quoted Mr. Waldman. In an article published on April 8, 2020, the Daily Mail wrote, Mr. Waldman Depp's lawyer said Amber and her friends use fake SV alligators as both a sword and a shield depending on their needs. They have selected some of her SV hoax facts as a sword, inflicting them on the public and Mr. Depp. On April 27, 2020, the Daily Mail published a statement which accurately quoted Mr. Waldman as stating, it's so funny how I think Amber Heard and her team actually used this same phrase, the sword and shield thing. They stole it from Adam Waldman. Quite simply, this is a hoax. Okay, we know this. And on June 24, 2020, the Daily Mail published an article that accurately quoted Mr. Waldman's assertion that Ms. Heard was carrying on an AB hoax against Johnny Depp. Each of these articles identified Mr. Waldman as Mr. Depp's lawyer or attorney. Mr. Waldman has generated the content for negative press about Ms. Heard as well. He filed a report with LAPD claiming that Ms. Heard and Ms. Pennington perjured themselves. Then, based on the report, he told a German media outlet that LAPD has now opened a criminal investigation into the perjury of Ms. Heard, which repeated the statement solely created by him in one of the publication. Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard have enjoyed widespread success in generating negative publicity about Ms. Heard. An expert witness who analyzed negative tweets on Twitter about Ms. Heard found that between April 2020 and April 2021, over 25% of negative tweets about Ms. Heard was associated with the hashtag that included Waldman or a variation of this name. The expert witness also detected a huge spike of negative hashtags towards Ms. Heard in February 2020, which coincides with Mr. Waldman and Mr. Depp met with the publicist for Daily Mail. Yeah, when the audio recordings came out. Mr. Depp's motion for summary judgment motion to strike the evidence. Prior to the trial, Mr. Depp moved for summary judgment, arguing, as relevant here, that Ms. Heard could not prove Mr. Waldman published a statement with actual malice, that a statement was not actual expression of opinion. Ms. Heard responded that both Mr. Depp and Mr. Waldman knew the statement was false, and that malice was therefore established. Further, because the statement accused Ms. Heard of fabricating evidence of DV and then calling law enforcement, the statement was capable of being proven false, thus actionable. Agreeing with Ms. Heard, the Circuit Court observed that absent exceptional circumstances, the question of actual malice should not be decided at the summary judgment stage. The court held that the reasonable fact finder could conclude Mr. Waldman published a statement with malice because he had no personal knowledge of the underlying events at issue and nonetheless made the statement. Again, I wish they focus on this right here because, there's a reason why Adam Waldman thought that. But I wonder, I don't know, why did they not go into that? It was really weird to me. The reason for him thinking that they spilled the wine and they, concocted this hoax. At trial, Mr. Depp moved to strike the conclusion Ms. Heard's evidence of her counterclaim. He reiterated the arguments in his motion for summary judgment, contending the statement was opinion and clear and convincing evidence did not establish it was published with actual malice. So the argument that they make for Amber Heard, in his mind, in her mind, she thought it was real. So can't they just say the same thing? Well, in his mind, he thought it was real too. But I guess they're saying that maybe because Amber Heard experienced it and then Mr. Waldman has no, I don't know. I mean, I feel like it could kind of, if you want to use the stupid argument that Amber and her team are making, I feel like you kind of use it for Adam Waldman as well, no? In light of his testimony, Mr. Depp claimed that Mr. Waldman, independent contractor, blah, blah, blah. The refused jury instructions on independent contractor. We're going to skip through that a little bit. Argument, Mr. Depp's independent contractor theory is inapposite, which is inappropriate, just a very fancy way of saying it. And whether Mr. Waldman is his agent was a question of fact relating to assignments of error 1 and 2. Using her delusion as a defense. Smart. I know, right? She does it to herself. I agree. I wholly agree with that. A plaintiff is armed with a jury verdict approved by the trial court stands in the most favored position known to law. When a trial court has refused to strike a plaintiff's evidence, the well-established standard of appellate review requires the court to determine whether the evidence present at trial, taken in the light most favorable to the plaintiff, was sufficient to support the jury verdict in favor of the plaintiff. Whether the concept of independent contractor applies in the case of this question is a question of law that is reviewed de novo. We're going to skip through this. Mr. Waldman can be independent contractor and agent, which we've already talked about that. The circuit court properly denied the motion to strike because the circuit court properly denied the motion to strike because whether Mr. Waldman made the statement while acting as Mr. Depp's agent was a question of fact. I'm going to skip over this as well. The court need not to adopt any rule regarding whether attorneys are independent contractors as a matter of law. I'm going to skip that. This is just all Adam Waldman stuff. Ms. Heard presented sufficient evidence of actual malice relating to assignments of error. Mr. Depp waived any argument the summary judgment should have been granted. All right, let's see what they say here. In this section of this opening brief regarding actual malice, Mr. Depp asserts the circuit court erred in denying Mr. Depp's motion of summary judgment and motion to strike. Despite this statement, he presented no arguments concerning the summary judgment record and relies exclusively on the evidence presented at trial. The conclusion of this segment suggests Mr. Depp seeks to abandon any error regarding summary judgment by omitting any reference to this motion and stating that only the motion to strike should have been granted. In Mr. Depp's memorandum supporting his motion for summary judgment, his sole basis for arguing Ms. Heard could not prove actual malice was an interrogatory response he described as factually empty. According to Mr. Depp, this interrogatory requested that Ms. Heard explain how Mr. Depp could be legally responsible for Mr. Waldman's conduct. Ms. Heard had no burden to develop the record at summary judgment. Standard of review. Ms. Heard could prove defamation by showing either Mr. Depp or Mr. Waldman had actual malice. How? Ms. Heard could prove defamation by showing either Mr. Depp or Mr. Waldman had actual malice when the statement was published. Mr. Waldman's conduct is tortious and imputed to Mr. Depp if he's published a statement with actual malice. The inquiry is whether the liability for defamation would arise if Mr. Depp published a statement, thereby permitting Ms. Heard to rely on Mr. Depp's actual malice to prove defamation. Here, evidence established that Mr. Depp and Mr. Waldman had actual malice. Okay. They said Mr. Depp had actual malice. All right, tell us how. As a perpetrator of DV, Mr. Depp is aware that he AB'd Ms. Heard physically, verbally, and emotionally that evening. For that reason, he knows the assertion that there was a hoax or ambush or setup is false. But how do they know that he knows this? How? He also knows that Ms. Heard and her friends did not spill wine or ruffle the penthouse because it caused property damage to the penthouse or spilled wine there on May 21st. Consequently, there is ample evidence from the jury could infer that Mr. Depp knew the statement was false or reckless with respect to his falsity. Mr. Waldman had actual malice. Mr. Waldman testified he has no first-hand knowledge of whether Mr. Depp AB'd Ms. Heard, but he claimed he saw some things that showed her statements to be false. Mr. Waldman testified, so there are two police officers, one DV-trained female police officer who testified over and over and over again there was no damage to the penthouse, which Ms. Heard claimed was destroyed. That's the direct quote, destroyed. Based on this testimony, a fact finder could have concluded Mr. Waldman believed there was no damage to the penthouse. Wait, what? That Mr. Waldman believed there was no damage to the penthouse. All three officers saw no damage to the penthouse. The jury could infer Mr. Waldman spoke to the officers or reviewed their testimony and reaching their conclusion there was no damage to the penthouse. The point of the evening. Or Mr. Waldman just thinks that the police officer saw nothing, even though he knew that Amber Heard claimed that it was destroyed. No? Yet Mr. Waldman told Daily Mail there was damages to the penthouses. Hi, Ricta. How are you doing today? We're all doing good. Hello. On a live? I think I've heard that before, too. Oh, my throat. All right. I don't know if we're going to get to the other document. In addition, when making the statement and others as Mr. Depp's attack dog, when he filed a police report for perjury simply so he could tell the press falsely that Ms. Heard was being investigated for perjury, Mr. Waldman selectively credited only the evidence that he believed was favorable to Mr. Depp and ignored the abundant evidence of Mr. Depp's AB of Ms. Heard, including the evidence regarding the night of May 21st, 2016. Therefore, a jury could reasonably have concluded that he either knew his statement was false or reckless in not knowing and thus possessed actual malice. 3. The statement is actionable because it contains a provable false factual connotation. They're saying that Adam Waldman's statement is not protected under freedom of speech. Mr. Waldman did not allow the facts available to him in the statement. The articles note that Mr. Depp's legal team pointed out the 911 caller on May 21st had a female voice, and the LAPD registered Mr. Wright's call at 10:09. This explained at most why Mr. Waldman asserted that 2 calls were made in the statement. There is no explanation of facts that could be interpreted as supporting the defamatory assertion that Ms. Heard set up Mr. Depp by fabricating evidence of DV. Mr. Depp also asserts that the court considers factors such as whether the form in which a statement is made would cause a reader to understand the author's opinion, the degree to which the audience is familiar with the underlying facts, and the identity of the speaker. Each of the factors suggests that the statement is not an opinion. The form in the Daily Mail is a widely circulated tabloid that publishes newsworthy accounts of factual information, not opinion pieces. The overwhelming majority of Daily Mail's numerous readers are not familiar with the underlying facts of Ms. Heard's AB, and the identity of the speaker as Mr. Depp's attorney suggests that he has inside knowledge or access to evidence that established Ms. Heard's allegators are false. While a reader might consider statements that an attorney makes in court as mere advocacy, the press is not a traditional form in which attorneys advocate for their client. What is this one? Rejected jury instructions, contractor. So we're still talking about Adam Waldman here. The circuit court did not AB its discretion by requiring redaction of relevant and inadmissible portions of the article containing the statement. I think I'm going to skip through this. It's basically the same argument over and over again, but just written either the same or using similar language and just present it a little bit differently. But it's basically just the same shit. All right, so this is basically a whole 58-pager talking about how Mr. Adam Waldman is responsible and how Depp and Waldman acted with actual malice and how the whole thing was not a hoax. Counsel certifies that this brief contains 12,400 words, excluding those portions of the brief that do not count towards the word limit, therefore complies with rule blah, 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 which provides that a brief of the appellee may not exceed pages of... Jesus. Wait. It did exceed, didn't it? Oh, because, hold on a second. This brief contains 12,000, excluding the blah, 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 which provides that a brief of the appellee may not exceed the longer of 50 pages or 12,300. Jesus, this was long. But yeah, this is the last page, so I guess the certificate doesn't count. Interesting. Wow, he just kept it at 50,000 and then just at 12,000. I wonder if it's unlimited how long they can write for. Holy crap. Hi, Jack. Hi, Nomi. How are you doing today? So that is Mr. Benjamin Rottenborn, and this was submitted on December 2nd. Whew, man, lots of stuff going on. And then lastly, how long is this one right here? Oh, you know what? We could read this one. This one's only 12 pages. Should we read it or should we wait until tomorrow? Maybe we'll do it tomorrow. Maybe we'll do it tomorrow instead.